Sometimes that's not a bad thing. It keeps you out of trouble.
Sure.
It's expensive though. Oh.
Yeah, everybody look at the clock, hurry it up.
Meeting adjourned.
The appointed hour has arrived, so I will call the Monday, May 5th meeting of the Hastings Planning Commission to order. We'll begin with roll call. Bolthouse, Darling,
Here.
Foster, here, Like,
Here.
Mattson,
Here.
McLean,
Here.
Moyer Kale,
Here.
Tassava,
Here.
our student member, Ansors,
Here.
and Hatfield here. So we have a quorum and can lawfully conduct business. If you'll please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item of business is to approve the agenda. You have a proposed agenda in your packet. Are there any additions or deletions anyone would like to propose?
No, I'm.
Yes, Jackie.
I just totally lost my mind for a minute.
How would you like to propose that we approve the agenda as submitted?
I make that motion.
Thank
yes.
you. Support. It's been moved and supported. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. You've received draft minutes in your packet. Are there any corrections that need to be reflected?
One small correction, towards the bottom of the first page, my last name is spelled wrong with a E.
Oh, no. I'm sorry about
Sorry,
that.
Sarah.
No, I'm sorry to you.
With that correction so noted, do we have?
Support that.
Moved.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's been moved and supported. Discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Information items, we have none. Public hearings, we have one tonight, which is a hearing to review and consider a special use permit application from Terry Dennison for Just Off Broadway Incorporated. So, Terry, we'll start out by letting you give us just a very brief summary of what you're proposing, then we'll open it up for public comment and then questions from the council, and you'll have an opportunity to respond to any of those.
You want me to go back there?
If you would, please.
Can I take my project manager? And
You
my
certainly may.
And also has been building the building? My name is Terry Dennison, and my dream is coming true of having a museum that I've wanted for many, many, many years. Bonnie Geddes tried to help me do this, and everything we tried to do failed. So I was sitting in my swing facing south, and my cousin David up there in the sort of kind of orangey shirt told me, and also friends told me, that look to your left, because to the left was a dentist office that had been sort of empty for a number of years. And so we checked it out, and it was perfect. I'd gone there to have my teeth cleaned, so I knew the inside of it. I loved the architecture inside, and it was just the right size, 3,700 square feet for all the stuff I want to show. And luckily, one day, I was sitting on the swing, and Jesse was there. This is Jesse Graham. And this man, the dentist, drove up, mow the yard. Jesse ran across the parking lot to say to him, "Would you be interested in selling this building to Mr. Dennison for a museum?" And he immediately said, "Yes, I would." That was the start of that. So then we eventually I bought the building, and Ben Compton here has been working in the building since February 2024, and Jesse's been my project manager, and we are to the point where we'll be able to move in the china cupboards and the display pieces and put things in them finally after all these years, because the museum itself is two sections. It's educational. The whole thing's educational. There's an educational museum and an educational galleries. The museum will be Hollywood, Broadway, and television. There'll be costumes, props, things from their homes, awards they've won, all kinds of posters, autographs, whatever they have. And I'll be teaching about these things. We'll be seeing movies. Then the other section is the fine arts section. And that is where we're going to have rooms with Waterford crystal and crystal from France like Dome and Lalique and Baccarat. We're going to have a room for Yadro porcelains from Spain, a room for Heron china from Hungary, Royal Dalton figurines from England. There'll be things from Africa and Australia and New Zealand, and wood carvings from Italy. And so there'll be all kinds of things, and everything in that place will be taught about. I'm going to give lectures. We have a lecture room with about 25 chairs, and we just really feel that this is going to be a big asset to the community.
Okay, thank you very much. We will come back to you if there are any questions that we think that you can help us with. Rebecca, you want to review your staff report?
Yes, absolutely. You know, it's all pretty laid out black and white in the report, but I did think sometimes it's helpful just to maybe frame things for you. So obviously this is an existing building on property that has already been improved, and so the occupancy, the proposed occupancy of the building isn't really proposing any changes to the building or the site from the exterior. However, under your zoning ordinance, whenever you have a new occupant in an existing building, or a new building for that matter, they are subject to the review and approval process. So in this particular case, this happens to be in residential zoning, but based on the description, the applicant's use description, it was identified as a public use, a nonprofit educational museum being a public use. However, that is a special land use in the residential district. And obviously the purposes, a special land use designation is done so intentionally by the city, because every community can list what they want to call a special land use. And in a residential district, you identified this because that then gives you the ability to say exactly what are the characteristics of this use as they relate to impact on adjacent properties and on infrastructure and on services. So it lets you go through that process more than just a site plan review would. So the report is structured so that you are first considering your special land use permit, which is where you're considering those questions of impact. But then under the statute, you cannot consider a special land use without a site plan, because how are you going to be able to determine impact if you cannot see a site plan and identify how things are laid out on the property and how they're proposed to be used? So in the staff report, you'll note that the special land use permit criteria I've outlined for you and provided sort of points of discussion. And I think generally speaking, I think your conclusion would be that it's the proposed use and the proposal itself is supported by your special land use criteria. However, on the site plan side of things, it is lacking some detail that you need. That's not to say that you can't hold your discussion tonight and proceed with a motion for that matter if you want to. But there are some key site design features that are missing, specifically the parking. I know that the applicant proposes to repave the lot, but under your ordinance you have specific requirements as to how many parking spaces they should have, which we cannot calculate without some additional detail. We have not seen a parking layout either. So both of those things obviously would be an element of your consideration. And then the applicant also will want to speak to lighting and refuse disposal, only because the site plan is lacking that detail. So I would say that as it relates to the site plan, you're in a position of probably needing a revised plan. Whether or not you feel comfortable with acting subject to that or not is obviously your decision.
Okay, thank you. At this point, I'll open the public hearing. If there are any members of the public that would like to comment on the, either in favor of or in opposition to the proposal, if you'll please go to the podium. I'll let you two any public comment? Looks like you stacked the audience, Terry. Any public comment? All right, we'll close the public comment. Commission questions, comments?
I have a couple comments. Before I came here tonight, I was a bit confused because I was under the impression that, based on our discussion at the last meeting, that it was going to be special use permit and site plan review. So, what I read was that when I went back and read the minutes from last time we met, it said, you know, we would propose the public hearing, granted the applicant got their information in on time, and I knew that this was the only thing on the agenda, so I, of course, researched some things, and I was always under the impression that special use permit accompanied with the site plan. And I really couldn't see any site plan, like, information. So then I asked myself, was this just like a hurry push through thing? Because I feel like I can't make an educated decision without all of the information. And based on the statute, which does require site plan and special use permit together, we don't have all of that information. So that's all I'm gonna say. Not that I'm not in favor of the project, but I need to know the details, because that's what I'm charged with doing while I'm sitting up here.
Rebecca, in order to determine required number of spaces, what do we need to have?
The section of the parking section that I applied requests or requires, I'm looking for it right now, okay. We need to know the occupancy level of the building and then the number of employees. Those two metrics combined, you plug into the formula for this use and it tells you how many parking spaces you need. So that's the first requirement. Then secondly is how they're going to, once repaved, how they're going to lay that out, because obviously you have standards for your parking lot layouts.
Okay.
It's been repaved, excuse me, it's been repaved. We have 24 parking spots.
So you've already striped it?
It's already striped. And the occupancy should not, coming from educated people in trades and buildings, we really should not have over 14 people in there at one time. And this is not just open to the public, this is by appointment only. These are specialty tours, which are free of charge. We are booking by appointment only. It's not just an open door to where, you know, a lot of people can come in at 20 times.
You always have to do that, I'm sorry.
And how many people did you say?
We should stick to around 14 for our guided tours.
So the way your ordinance reads is maximum occupancy, so they're doing that based on the building code.
I know, but
Your
that-
information notwithstanding.
Doesn't
So-
that come from the fire marshal, the occupancy?
Yes, it does, but through the building, yes. So, so in that it has been repaved and striped already, then what we would also need, so we'll need what I'm assuming if they've been doing work inside the building, I'm assuming they've already secured permits. So I'm assuming they've already had an occupant load assigned to it. That's the number we would need, meshed with the number of employees we can calculate out. I have no idea what that number will be, but then if they've got a layout, we would need that too. So however they've striped it, we can check to make sure the parking spaces are laid out consistent with your standards.
So in pulling your permits, did they assign an occupancy?
All we did in the interior, nothing structural. It's been rebased, new carpet, new flooring, no permit needed. The parking lot was done by A1 Asphalt, which does amazing commercial work. They corrected a nasty parking lot and made it a very thick commercial parking lot. Drainage around the perimeter. It's brought a lot of joy to the neighbors because I'm not from a wild parking lot at night full of drug users to a very secure patrol parking lot. But yeah, we put a lot of love in this place, you know. As far as structure, nothing's been done. It took a long time to remediate the basement from mold and from sitting for so many years. But yeah, anytime the cities came up to do anything, it's been pretty straightforward. So.
Terry, employees or other volunteers that will be?
Well, we will probably have some volunteers. I'm gonna be the main lecturer, and I would teach other people how to do these things. They're gonna videotape me on all these things, so that when I'm not here, they will still have all this information. We don't really have an idea of how many employees we're gonna have yet.
As far as board members, excuse me, we have 3, we're a directorship. So that is Mr. Dennison, his cousin David, and a lady from Browns. So that's our board, and we have a treasurer. Yeah, we've had a registered 501c3 for going on 2 years now. So we did all the legal stuff prior to actually moving forward with carpet and painting. And they've been pretty, you know.
But did you say your room that you were going to have like a lecture that sat like 25 people?
That should not sit 25.
There are
He's
20
got 25 chairs.
We got 25 chairs.
Yeah, he should never sit 25 in that small room. No. But I do agree, I do believe we need an occupancy, review from the fire marshal. As far as how many fire hydrants, or not fire hydrants, fire extinguishers you're going to need, that's gonna be beneficial. We do have fire pros coming in, Grand Rapids, so fire pros prior to opening is supposed to set a certain amount. But is that gonna require the fire marshal still to come on in with fire pros, or?
Yeah, well, I mean, typically when you go in and do reno work in a building, you're working through the city and then with their building and fire departments, and then if you did nothing that required a building permit, they wouldn't be conducting an inspection, but the fire marshal would go in. Which is totally separate from the zoning, so you kind of do 3, right? Fire, building, and then zoning, and zoning only deals with exterior, the site. And so, but from the fire official, they can give you the building occupancy. We take the building occupancy and the number of people who you think are going to be serving there. It says employees, it just means, it's trying to determine parking needs. And then the zoning ordinance has a formula. We plug those numbers in and it says the ordinance requires X number of parking spaces. Then we look at your plan to say, do you have that number at a minimum? So that's the one standard that applies. But then zoning ordinances also have parking standards like size of parking spaces.
10-foot parking spaces.
And then they look at aisle widths, they look at circulation routes. And so normally when a striper comes in to stripe a parking lot, they're working off a plan that has already been approved, rather than striping a plan and then, but, well, that is what we would actually like then, because that's the plan we need so that we can.
You guys dealt with, and I'm just gonna be blunt, okay? You guys dealt with the crumbled up lot washing out into the sewer system for a decade. This guy comes in and makes it pretty.
So from a zoning perspective, those are, all they're doing is they're going through the ordinance. There is a change in use occurring, all right? And when there's a new occupant, then it's confirmed, okay, is this occupant allowed through the zoning ordinance? And if so, what standards apply, because a dentist office has a different parking demand than another use, so those things are checked. So the fact that you've improved the parking lot, I mean, that's great, but this board sits in review of, does your proposal comply with the zoning ordinance? So that's all they're trying to ascertain. Yep.
One question that I don't know that we've ever addressed, in a situation where the building occupancy may be less than what the owner is stating will ever be in there, how do we, or do we have the ability to use stated occupancy?
Are you saying so
or
that...
impose an occupancy level that's less than what the fire marshal may?
No, I mean, if the outcome you're looking for is you feel that the occupancy is going to dictate more parking spaces than they either need or can provide, if that's what you're thinking, that might be...
I'm not sure, just...
Then you can't challenge the occupancy, but you certainly can, or not you, but the ZBA can certainly give relief to the parking. Now, the parking lot, kind of is a primary thing, but you also have a couple of other site plan issues that, are your standard review process. I know there's, you confirm parking lot lighting, you confirm refuse disposal, and landscaping. Now, it's on the refuse disposal, if the applicant is sent, what you're looking for from that is what they're going to do. And then you respond, does that meet your standards? So you don't actually have a requirement for it, but rather, if they're going to have outdoor dumpster, then they need screening, as an example. Lighting, if there's existing lighting on the site, which there probably is, a confirmation that that lighting, that they're not adding any, that sort of thing, you would want to confirm. The landscaping, what the position there is that your ordinance requires landscaping with very detailed requirements. Without a landscape plan, I don't know that what's there right now meets your ordinance. I have no idea. Whether it does or doesn't, the Planning Commission certainly has a little more flexibility with your landscaping requirements, is you can look at the landscape plan and say, maybe it doesn't meet the ordinance, but we find it acceptable. So you have the ability to do that. So the four elements of site design that I think are pending, if you will, you have ways to move through those, but you do need, it kind of starts with having the plan of those things.
I was just trying to decide whether or not the issues were of a significance that it would allow us to delegate that to staff, or whether it needs to come back to us.
I think you could with the parking. I think the lighting and the dumpster, they can answer right now, and then you would know. The only thing I would say with the landscaping is staff can't waive that, only you guys can. So if for some reason their landscaping doesn't meet the standards, staff can't waive that.
Well, I would understand that would need to come back, but at least if it met the standards.
Then you could say that's fine,
Right. So,
we're making it pretty, okay?
Okay.
No longer nice.
I bought the sculpture that was right down here on the corner, and that's going into our landscape. The phases, the one that's purple with stars,
yes.
that's going to be in our property.
Good.
So, yeah, we
So, but can you get a plan to us that staff can review to determine whether or not these things are issues or not?
outside of the original parking lot, all we did was have it rebuilt the correct way, with proper drainage, a lot less water going into your sewer system without.
Yeah, I'm.
But we did add green space, okay? We added more green space because it was just too much blacktop for his little museum. So we took 2 parking spots out to add green space. curb appeal, you know? We have not even gotten to that yet, though. You know, there's no pad for his statue that he bought from out here. There's no builder being brought in yet, so yeah, we can definitely get that plan together.
Okay, because, you know, we'll need to see the parking layout, we'll need to see exterior lighting, including the parking lot.
We turned in a lot of this with Dan King when
Okay.
we did this, as far as original blueprints that have not changed.
We have the building blueprints, and so we've received all of that. But what they're looking at is not building related, it's site related, property related.
It's easy enough to put 5 minutes sketch.
Okay,
Mr. Chair,
yes,
I would suggest that any of the general standards, such as bicycle racks, also be included in any revision of site plan. Bicycle rack is one of the things that's required if it's in
Right.
a neighborhood that people would be riding their bikes there.
yes. So, yeah, again, that's a normal requirement on, you know, site plan approval, and, yeah, particularly when it's in a residential area. So, Jackie, how are you feeling if we delegate that to staff, and staff can refer it back here if it doesn't meet the required standards?
I'm not feeling good about it. I feel like, again, I will reiterate the fact that when we take an application, we really shouldn't be bringing it to the board unless all of the information is there. And all the information isn't there, and I feel like setting precedents to say, oh, we can just let this one slide. I don't want to do that. Like, I want all the information, I want it to go the right way, because I just feel like we need to set the standard, and the standard is I want all the information to come before us at the same time, and not just, oh, let's hurry and get this in so it can get to planning commission without all of the information. So that's the way I feel. Sorry.
I would only point out that we have delegated
Yes, I
approval
know,
to
I
staff
know.
on a number
I
of
know,
occasions.
but the
So
landscaping,
it's not,
there's quite a few things missing, and,
There's
so.
also a lot of curbs missing in Hastings, so, you know, we added a beautiful place, okay? A very
yeah, I'm sorry, but that's not the way to approach us
Well,
on something.
that's the
Yeah,
way I
we
feel.
appreciate what you're doing, but we still have regs that we have to abide by. So, believe me, yeah.
Yeah,
what-
condemn the building.
Yes, and when they come in here and are proposing to do something different, they will be subject to exactly the same kind of things, you know. And I do apologize. I think the fact that Dan has been in the hospital for some major surgery, yeah, has certainly not made your communication with us as, you know, quite as easy as it might otherwise have been.
I would agree with you.
So, yeah.
I would just comment, I mean, I guess looking at, this is a little unique in that the footprint of the building isn't changing. Really, the parking lot, we're talking about maybe 2 spots changing. The use of the building seems like less intensive than a dentist's office to me. So just with like those basic facts, and it would have gone through way back when for landscape approval. Yeah, we can't verify whether that stuff's still there. The picture from Google Maps is 12 years old, but I think we have competent people in our City Hall to review and understand whether it meets these basic standards. It's not if it were a big change and walls were changing and the exterior was dramatically different, it's all being changed within the same building that sat vacant. So I would be more inclined than I normally would be to delegate to staff. So.
Okay, how do the rest of you feel? Dave?
Feel the same way. I've been by that place on and off for the last 10 years, and it's been a real eyesore. And, you know, I've been privileged to know Terry for a long time, and he's told me about his plans, and I think they're gonna, you know, the Google map shows that maybe on the east side of the back of the property, maybe there needs to be some trees or bushes or something back in there, but I think the place looks 100% better than ever does, has right now, but I agree. I think, you know, we've done this before. I understand what Jackie's saying, you know, and I don't think this is a rush through. I think they've done a lot of work already that, you know, that they kind of got up to this point. I think we could approve this with the approval of staff. I think I got confidence in everybody too, so I agree with Chelsea.
Bill?
I think if Dan King had been around for the whole process, it would have come smoother to us, I believe. I would be okay with allowing staff to approve it.
Nicole?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page. I would like to, after, if it comes to the point where it's approved by staff, I would still like to see what those plans look like. So if Dan could come back and give us an update one way or the other so that we're all on the same page about those couple of unanswered questions that we had with the lighting and the parking lot layout, I think that would be helpful to maybe alleviate any of those concerns. But Dan knows what is compliant with the ordinances. I don't think we have to worry about that.
Sarah?
I think these are all things that have been delegated to staff to review in the past. It is odd because the site plan's so limited because so little is changing. It is almost like the entirety of the site plan that we don't have in a lot of ways. So, but I think that it can be reviewed further internally if there's any irregularities or you know, issues with landscaping or whatever. We can always bring it back.
Scott?
I'm kind of with Jackie on it just because I'm the newest one here and I don't have precedence. So I'm black and white when it comes down to it, and not seeing the information is kind of hard for me.
Okay.
Did you say, Rebecca, that staff they can't approve the landscaping plan? That has to come to us?
They can't approve a waiver.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if the landscaping that's either there or that they're proposing to establish, if that plan, that'll be checked for compliance with the standards.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't meet those, you guys have the authority to accept something different. Staff does not. But I think that's what you're saying is if that's the case, just bring it back.
I think that's what I am inferring is that
Yeah.
we would refer compliance to staff. If there's any element that does not comply, then it needs to come back here.
But if it does comply, it can just be approved.
If it does
it's
comply, then
unnecessary.
yes. So we are approving, I think what I hear is that we are approving it subject to staff verifying compliance in those areas that at this point are undefined.
And our usual contingencies.
Yes.
I would make that motion.
Okay, we have support. We have a motion and support to approve the special land use application and to approve the site plan with delegation to staff to confirm those issues that are we've identified: parking, refuse, landscaping, and if any of those do not comply with the ordinance requirements, then it will necessitate a review by us.
And lighting, yes.
And lighting,
Yep.
sorry, yes. Okay, we have a motion and support. Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, same.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. So, approved, subject to working out the unresolved issues that you've heard with staff, and either Dan, depending on his availability, or Rebecca. Okay? We wish you well. Exciting times.
Come and see us. Really, I love to see the parking lot, what we've done inside so far. Please see it. I mean, you're gonna love it.
I'm sure we will. We wish you luck. So, thank you very much. Now, these are very exciting meetings. You're welcome to stay if you'd like to. All right, new business, we have none. Old business, JPA, JPC update. JPA did meet, JPC has not, but I don't think there was, it was a very short JPA meeting, and I don't think there was anything of substance brought up, unless you know something I don't.
No, that's what I know.
Okay. Work task list. Without Dan here to offer his, you have anything?
No.
No, okay. Tracking report, same response.
You know, they might want to know, I think the Housing Committee is meeting again this month, right?
Well, we canceled the last meeting, but
Yeah.
yes, we are scheduled to meet
Yeah.
this month. So.
Well, and that's only, I think, would be of interest to you, because the Housing Committee is moving forward your housing slate, and I think they're actively, because you guys have done a lot on that, and you've gotten like the first, more than 50% of it done, and so they're moving forward, so just thought I'd chime in for Dan. Thank you.
Thank you.
One comment
Yes.
on the site plan tracker, just FYI, if you didn't know, Zach Santmeyer's project, they have their ribbon cutting this Friday at 4 o'clock. The building looks fantastic if you haven't been in there.
The inside is, yeah, they've done a great job with. I'm still kind of anxious to see exactly what we end up with on the exterior,
Yeah.
Right,
but
right.
he's moving ahead.
But which building is this?
The-
Trumbull
Trumbull
Insurance.
Insurance,
Trumbull
is the
Insurance.
former restaurant.
Oh, right, yes, okay. Interesting.
And the chamber has moved in and mostly, so.
Pending a few
Also
technology
looks,
things.
also looks very nice, no?
Yeah.
Good things happening downtown. All right, public discussion and comment. Mr. Rezegi.
None at this time.
Thank you. Staff comments?
I just want to say that I do have full confidence in our staff to fulfill those obligations. However, our staff is really busy, and for simple things like that I think we're supposed to be charged with, and if we had all the information, we could have said yes or no right now, rather than them having to go back and do all of that work. So I just want to say that. I didn't think you were not
Oh, no, there was a lot of information missing.
Right, so,
Yeah.
and so now that's put on you guys, and so that's kind of where I was at, because we have a job to do, and part of that job is, and we should really let the community know too, that you should have a full application and all the information submitted, and if you don't, then you're gonna have to wait till the next meeting until you get that information to us, so that our staff isn't or charged with doing more work when they're already as busy as they are. So, just want to say that, clarify that.
Any other commissioner comments? All right, seeing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
To adjourn.
Moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.